I am Steve. This is Fran. We're going to answer a lot of the common questions we get on the blog and on our video channel. And, if there's anything that you guys want us to answer, just put it in the chat. So with that in mind, Fran, happy
All right.
holidays, boy, man.
Happy holidays. Let's jump right into it. We got lots of questions. Hopefully we'll get a lot of good live questions as well. So we've gotten some questions before this started. So let's jump right into those. So first one we got, and really a topic, and this has been a question that we've been getting kind of all over the place recently from a lot of different areas. And really it's appliance pricing for next year, for 2025. Are we hearing a lot of price increases? Like what's going on with appliances pricing going into the new year?
Well, first of all, everybody's going up. And it's probably the most I've seen in a lot of years. And then we'll get into how to buy in a second. But Sub-Zero is March 1, is it? 8 to 13%. Thermador, Bosch, Gaggenau, what's that? It's really, when you get down to it, it's almost a 6 to 10%.
Yeah.
LG and G have already announced.
GE across the board, all their brands. Same thing with LG across their brands. Yeah.
What's really interesting is now your money means something in the bank. It's 4.25% or whatever it is. So, the ability to jump when money is worth nothing, you would definitely do that. So you've got to. So if you're planning a project, then the price increase will probably get neutered by the money you can make to some degree, right? The real problem is going to be is all these companies have said that this is before the tariffs. And the tariffs on steel and aluminum killed us last time. So this could be the first of many. So what I would do if I was buying appliances is find a store or stores and just stay on top of it before the increase comes in, because I'm sure all the rest of them will chime in because now it's a good opportunity. At the same time, all the promotions, we've been on Black Friday since 2023, right? So you get some pretty strong promotions. You probably have, I'm not sure what happens to those, because you still have manufacturers overproducing to less demand. So buy before the price increases. If you're in the short term and the long term, it's certainly interesting to look at pre-tariff. Next,
especially with those premium brands, like you said, where you see that kind of increased percentage is those are just kind of straight price increases on some of those brands, like an LG, maybe a GE Cafe or ones like that. They sometimes tend to get promotional. Yeah, it's like, who knows really how that ends up being, but certainly on those premium brands, like, yeah, those are going to see some pretty significant increases there.
No question. What do you got next?
All right, next question. So this one comes from Karen, and just simply, what is the best 48-inch refrigerator?
I don't know. It really depends, I guess. But I think Sub-Zero, certainly with their French door 48.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the way their freezer sits low, because you don't have to reach up for your refrigerator like you do in the Thermador. I think SKS with the 6 drawers, I like theirs because theirs shorter than the identical Thermador. I like that piece a lot too, because you get the custom ice, you get the drawer that can be a refrigerator or freezer. The True with the colors, and all stainless interior. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful refrigerator. I'd say one of those you can't go wrong with, certainly. And 48. And then if you want to do integrated and split that up in a 30-inch fridge and a 18-inch freezer, you can do that, or you can do 224s. It really depends on how you refrigerate, how you freeze. You want colors, you want panels. Here's one for you. What is the best customer service for all the aforementioned brand look like in your particular neighborhood? And that's the way you would choose.
Absolutely. And that's a big thing, kind of what you said before too, going back a little bit. It's like, that's one thing that we've noticed really over the last year, and that 48-inch size is really that shift from kind of traditional side-by-side refrigerators and columns. Now you're definitely starting to see more French door with 2 doors up top and the bottom drawer. And some of the brands are different for sure, where there are multiple drawers and things like that. But you're seeing those French doors in that sizes from Sub-Zero and Thermador and SKS. And that, I think, is kind of the biggest change. So really, I think those 48-inch French doors certainly have started to become a lot more popular.
Yeah, I don't hate the monogram 48-inch side by side either. With the ice and water through, from a price standpoint, now that you mention it. But again, everybody stores food a little bit differently. So that service, panel, color, price is really how you buy it.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. This one comes from Renee. And what is the difference between a steam oven and a speed oven? And are there any that can actually do both?
No, they can't do both because they're totally different, right? Microwaves work by targeting moisture in the food. That's why nobody likes the way food comes out of microwave. It's fast and convenient.
Mhm.
It's really targeting moisture, whereas steam adds moisture. Um, I don't use a microwave I used it for the first time, I think, at 3 years this morning because I was in a rush because I had to get my daughter out of the house really quickly. But normally I reheat everything in a steam oven because you're adding moisture and flavor and texture, whereas you're withdrawing that from a microwave. Now, speed oven's a little different because you have the ability to cook as an oven and as a microwave. So you could do like a 90% convection, 10% full microwave power. So you don't have that degradation of texture, flavor, moisture, and everything else. So that's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a cool thing with the steam oven. Like you really can use it to reheat just about anything. Really, the only thing a steam oven can't do that a microwave could is, liquids and popcorns and kind of like that sort of thing. It may take a little bit longer, like you said, but the food just comes out
Oh,
really.
food's great. I use a
it-
steam oven all the
yeah,
time.
it's like this. It's sometimes almost better than it was originally when you're kind of reheating it all and adding that moisture back into it. So, all right, next question. This one is from Fran D. And what are the best features to look for in a dishwasher?
I would say washing dishes, drying dishes, and not breaking. Those would be my three.
Yeah.
Um, that said, dishwashers can dry now, and the best drying dishwashers that Bosch with the zeolite, right, where the element, the volcanic element, absorbs moisture and emits heat, which dries, which is drying, which is what a
Mhm.
dishwasher drying cycle does. But there's a lot of very good ones. Miele, I have a Miele, and that brings air outside your kitchen air inside, so the hot and cold air kind of commingle and become water and gets drained that way, and it pops open at the end of the cycle. That works pretty well.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have a combination of those two. LG uses steam, and that's not bad actually. And they're hybrid dry, they call it.
Yep.
That's not bad. In terms of washing, Miele would be number one because they're the only ones with a top wash arm on the top. Although the sprinkler head Bosch doesn't work too badly, KitchenAid's got a decent one. LG is deceptively good because steam, lifts up things. Even the G is not bad as well. So it really depends what you're looking for. I mean, you could spend $750, you could spend $3,500 on a dishwasher. And the upper meal is, they've got the Swiss Army knife bottom rack where you can fit anything, even like a baby bottle. You can clip it nicely in there. That's a nice dishwasher. So it really depends. And again, you want to look at our reliability number shows. Again, this is just our numbers. I don't mess with them, and I'm not an influencer. I don't get paid to say this, but LG would be one. The lower level Bosches, which is really Thermador, would be two, and then Mueller's three. So that's the way I buy a dishwasher.
Yeah,
We'll take some
definitely.
questions here. You want to take these? You want to take a couple right here?
Yeah.
Okay, Yakara Heyman and
Yeah. So
Big Ham.
Yeah, so we'll start with Yakira Heyman here. And she was really asking about some of these induction cooktops that are embedded into the actual countertop and says, what is your opinion on those? What material can accommodate that? Porcelain, so just in general, we've definitely seen some of these where they have these cooktops that are really embedded into the actual countertop. So instead of one kind of big cutout, you may have some smaller kind of just circular cutouts for just those individual burners themselves.
I think what they're talking about is and again, if you're still here, you can put that in the thing is when you integrate it into the countertop. There's three possible ways you could be asking this. Is A, are you putting the induction under the countertop? There's a company that now does that, where the counter becomes the stove. And then there's individual induction burners, or you can talk about integrating taking that cooktop and integrating that into a counter, right? Where there's no lip. You could do one of those three things. I'm not sure. There's one specific material that does the first one. It's a countertop company. The name escapes me. But pretty much you can integrate an induction cooktop in almost any material. I know we do it in our Dorchester store, and I think it's a composite of some sort.
Yeah, like a flush mount. Yeah.
That said, I like it, but you'd have to check the cleanup on that. You'd have to integrate it perfectly because that can collect crumbs. The other thing a lot of people say they like is the metal rim. So if you're putting a pot on there and you're coming in from the side, you're not going to damage the cooktop.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on the question of what really you're looking for. You can pretty much do anything with an induction cooktop.
Yeah. Sometimes too, I always mention like those ones that are fully integrated like that, the flush mount. You want to make obviously the imperfections of cutting that countertop. You want to make sure that's obviously someone is doing that really good, because you can definitely see those imperfections a little bit better. And just replacement down the road sometimes may be a little bit tougher. Years down the road, replacement with those sort of kind of unique cutouts there too.
Yeah, it's really funny. We talk about these questions and the good, the ones that we got and everything else. But really, the thing that I want to leave people with is worry about what happens after it. It's not just it's delivery, installation, and service. And you want a company that can nail all three, because you're going to need all three. So really, if there's a theme, is fine. It's fun to pick Miele versus Wolf, but it's a lot better to figure out who's going to fix it after the fact. Anyway, what are the other ones we have here?
Let's go to Big Hamza 22 has a question about the Speed Queen. So, good afternoon. My GE gave out after 5 years. After extensive research, I settled on a Speed Queen TR7. Not the cheapest by any means, but I'm totally satisfied. Why do they not advertise more?
But they do in a different way. They pay influencers to talk about them. But it's an interesting story. Speed Queen is a commercial manufacturer that went into residential. And when I first started here in 1986, they were always after Maytag. And then when Maytag flamed out with their Neptune and Whirlpool, they became the new Maytag. It's a good machine, and I get misquoted. It's not the most reliable machine, but it's close to. I think if you're going to buy it, there's probably going to be cheaper to fix, and they've got a good warranty. But by no means are they the same as the old Maytag. And the TR7, just so you know, the way it works is it's spun by the water flow. It's not attached to an agitator per se. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get that clean ability that you would with, I like the TR5 with that cranking 270 degree, be careful with your clothes type of thing. But again, you're looking at, I love the machine. It's heavy as heck, but you're looking at, 3.2 to 3.5 cubic foot capacity. It's less capacity, uses a lot of water, and it's really expensive. So that said, it's a great story, American made, and we're an American family-owned company ourselves. So there's a lot of positives to it too, and it's got a good warranty, provided there's Speed Queen repair agency near you. So there's a lot to say here, good and bad. So all right.
So let's go to Paul, and Paul's asking, what are your thoughts about built-in coffee machines like Bosch, Thermador, JennAir? Also, are plumbed units more problematic?
Coffee. A couple things you need to know. First of all, I love the Miele coffee. I've got my sister owns it, and she makes these customized coffees that are absolutely delicious. But there's a few things you need to worry about in coffee machines. Is you got to clean them. You don't clean them, don't buy one, because getting these things fixed is not easy. But I like it. I don't have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience with. I think Wolf's got a new one that's made by somebody else. The Thermador and the Gaggenau is pretty much the same. Although the Gaggenau is more robust. It'll give you 34 different coffees. Don't know much about the JennAir, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a third party.
Yeah, a lot of them have gone to kind of tabletops as well. But I do love the coffee system. I do love the Miele. I really like the Gaggenau Thermador unit too. So
Yeah. And as far as the plumb goes, I mean, we really don't see more issues with the plumb. Certainly the installation is more involved because you're getting that direct feed. It's really just more the convenience. With Miele, especially, like they'll offer them in plumbed and non-plumbed, but you could really do even those plumb units kind of like either or. And it's really just the installation of them and the convenience of it. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's more problematic by any means.
Here's one. The Southeastern Mass. I
Hmm.
work, I work very. You want to put that up? Palatial. I love it. I work very close to your new palatial. It's big because it has to be, unfortunately. Anyhow, I wonder if this new LG are stackable with.
Older, yeah. So it depends. Yeah, most times, the stacking kit has to be the same. So it really depends on the model. A lot of times it can be tough depending how old it is to stack and unstack those. Sometimes that stacking kit could definitely be damaged, or you can cause damage to the washer machine, for example, kind of as you're uninstalling, reinstalling. So they may or may not be compatible, but it really depends on the exact models, but it is possible.
That's a great question too, though, because a lot of people buy the two-piece thinking that, hey, if one goes, I don't have to replace the other. But that's only if they make the stacking kit,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
They don't make the stacking kit, then what happens is there's a chance that the dryer may take a dive off your washer. You know, you have to support the dryer and the washer somehow. So you got to make sure the stacking kit is available
Yeah.
for both. So
All right, let's go to this one from Last Boy Scout. How do you feel about buying a KitchenAid manufacturer warranty?
um, I don't know. It really depends on where you live and if they've got available service. I'm not. I I do not like extended warranties, um, unless the warranty is backed by someone who can fix it, and that's and you just read the horror stories on the internet, and I don't want to feed into that.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're buying an extended warranty without service, it's the same as getting no service. I mean, you'll call the company, they'll try to find somebody that'll do it cheap for them, so they don't spend a lot of money. I just if KitchenAid's got available service in your area, then yes. On a refrigerator on a pro range, statistically, the odds are in your favor that you'll use that warranty. So yes on that. Yes, extendeds aren't a bad deal, but the execution of them is horrendous. So I just be careful wherever you're buying it from. Buying from that internet company from New York, and you live in California, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. You know.
Yeah. All right, next question. So the next one we have here is from Nancy. It says, what are the reports of how the oven and induction stoves work?
Okay. Well, an induction range is electric. So it
Mhm.
works the same way as an electric range would. Electric is drier, more consistent heat, better for baking. Gas, for all you roasters out there, gas is a moisture heat, better for roasting, much better boiler on gas.
Mhm.
That said, on induction, the problem with induction ranges is that it takes up the whole 50 amp circuit. So if you're in a place that's got voltage spikes and everything else, that can be a problem. Our staff electrician said get a smoother. You
Mhm.
buy it on Amazon for $600 that eliminate the spikes going in. I don't know what a smoother is. I've got to look that up.
All right, next question. This one is from Constance, and it says, recently spotted a Yale Appliance car in Nantucket. Any chance you deliver to Nantucket?
Well, yes, you saw a Yale car and you've seen Yale. We actually we bought Marine Lumber's service network and we will be selling on Nantucket. Actually now we bought a warehouse
Mhm.
there. We bought not palatial. We bought a warehouse there. We have service there. We're guaranteeing 48-hour service in
Mhm.
Nantucket right now. And we have product there in case you want to buy it. So store will be there available. You're in the store planning department. April 1, is it?
Yeah, so we're springtime. We're definitely hoping for March, but definitely hoping we're going to be in there in the spring for sure. We'll have a nice location there for you to come by. We'll have products on display that you can see. We have, like you said, we have a warehouse with stocked inventory there as well. Full service on Nantucket, which is massive for us. Our goal there is to provide, like you said, 48-hour service. Yale employed technician. So we're really looking forward and happy to be on
Yeah,
Nantucket.
they're actually pretty good. We've had them over. We've had them over in train, so they know what they're doing.
Yep.
Which is the reason why we did it.
All right. Next question. This one is from Anne. Pros and cons of installing induction cooktop downdraft motors in the cabinet below versus down in the basement. So really kind of like talking about the downdraft behind a cooktop and that blower versus an internal blower versus maybe an inline blower.
Well, first of all, in case anyone's buying a hood, there's 3 ways you can put a blower. Typically, like if you buy a Yale hood, the blower can either go inside the hood, or in the ductwork below, or outside. I'm a fan of putting it inside the hood only because it's easier to service. Yeah, it's noisier, but you can hear air rushing through the duct in either one of those situations. Inline, we don't sell that much of. You have to leave some kind of provision to get to the motor in case there's a problem, right? And outside, I myself believe that the outside blower is a little big and gawky to be put on a house, depending on where you put it. But on a bigger house, it doesn't matter. Now, in terms of pros and cons, I'm not a fan of the downdraft only because you don't have any capture. You got a 2-inch capture area. You're going to cook on the front of the stove, and the front 2 burners. You're putting a downdraft with no capture in back. Then you're re-exhausting. Smoke goes up, but this is going to go down with an elbow that reduces the static flow, and a longer run that becomes less efficient. So if you cook, this is just a problem. I don't see. It doesn't matter to me in a hood where you put the blower, as long as it's straight up or straight back, right? You can put it wherever you want, as long as it's straight up and straight back, and you buy the appropriate motor for the way you cook in the stove that you have. But in a downdraft, it really doesn't matter because none of them work. And I always get these questions. What if I put in a 1200 CFM? Okay, it still doesn't work. Let's just say you cook, you create a lot of smoke and grease. Well, that stuff, when you see in a restaurant, is these big hoods because it gets captured and then it gets exhausted. You don't have a chance to do that. So I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and then kind of like with, and if you are absolutely stuck that you have to do kind of that downdraft, with the internal blower there, of course, you take up a lot of that space in that cabinet underneath with the blower. An inline blower may save you some room in that cabinet, but again, there's all those other things you need to think about too when it comes to the service, accessibility, all that sort of thing.
Look, I understand, like, if this is an existing kitchen, I am not going to tell you to spend 30 grand to remodel, whatever it is. I'm saying if this is a new kitchen, put it on the wall. Start there. Put the sink in the middle where it belongs. Centralize. Cooking goes in the wall, and then you'll be fine. And you won't have to worry about it.
Okay. So let's go to this question here from Pete. Looking for a new gas range and am torn between a Wolf gas versus a dual fuel. I cook with a wok often and see the difference between burners are 15,000 versus 20,000 BTU. Should I go with the dual fuel?
I don't know how you put the question up on there so quick, but that's it. Really, here's the differences as I see it between the two, and feel free to chime in. First of all, the grill or the griddle that you can get with either one of these is the same. Infrared, really good. But in terms of gas versus dual fuel, there's a lot of differences, as it were. 15,000 with a simmer burner is what you get on the gas. On the dual fuel, it's 20, 18, 16s, I think, in a simmer burner as well. But you also get a much better range. You get the digital touch screen. It's self-cleaning.
Wolf Gourmet,
You get the Wolf Gourmet, which I happen to like, where we bake our cookies with it. You put in what you want to cook, and it tells you how long it takes, what temperature. It automatically sets the temperature, time, even tells you the rack position. So you get a lot of stuff with the dual fuel thing and with all gas, but the fundamentals of cooking doesn't change. Broiling is going to be better in gas. Roasting is going to be better in gas, and with electric, it's going to be baking, and that's how you should decide which one's which.
Yeah, and for the wok cooking, where you're looking for kind of that, that is definitely somewhere you're looking for that higher heat cooking. It could definitely make a big difference there with that difference in the BTUs. And just in general, I definitely like the dual fuel. But again, like we always say, dual fuel, just because it's has all the features, doesn't necessarily mean it's the better way of cooking for you. But in this scenario, from what you're telling us, from what we see, dual fuel may definitely make sense to look at.
Couple things you can do is you can get the 48-inch cooktop with that wok burner, which is 35,000 BTUs. So there'll be no question, just don't downdraft it. There'll be no questions that that's going to be designed for wok, and then put double oven somewhere. And if you're worried about electric, Miele's got they have a range a little more contemporary looking, and it's got steam. So what I would do is just, if you like to broil, you can put a grill, which is really the same thing, right? And then you can get a steam oven. If you like to roast, you get that moisture, so it gives you that kind of similar effect. But that's a lot of stuff to. So let's go back. We'll go back to some of the other questions.
All right, sounds good. So next question we have is from Steve B. Why have large appliances seem to have become throwaway items? I have a 40-year-old GE fridge that has simple analog controls that is still working well. Are components less reliable now?
I think it's different now. I think, when you look at a 40-year-old GE refrigerator, I shudder to think how much energy that's using. And what happened was, in California, it was really the start of Energy Star. And so, you went to electronic components, and, as an industry, we weren't powerful enough to say, no, we're not going to do it, like the car industry with gas mileage. So they changed everything up, and these are much less expensive to run. The Sub-Zero 48 refrigerator is less than, I think, a 60-watt light bulb to run. The downside is they're probably not as reliable. There's more stuff to them, so they're less, and it requires more maintenance. You look at, most of these refrigerators, you need to get rid of the lint, right? And from below, the dust and the lint, you need to sweep that out every once in a while, or you're gonna have a problem. So there is more maintenance to them. But it's a pro and a con. You're spending $500-600 a year in energy versus, say, $78. So you're gonna probably get rid of it in 10 to 12 years versus 40, but you're gonna save that in terms of operating costs too.
Yeah, so I multiply that by all the appliances in the kitchen, and
And I don't want to come as because the biggest department in this company is service by far, and we don't make any money in service. So I'd love to see these things last 40 years.
Okay. All right, so let's go to the next question here. This one is from Janet. Are stainless steel, we seem to always get this question. We always get this question. Are stainless steel appliances out of fashion? And what about matching cabinetry doors on appliances?
Well, you're talking about two different things. First of all, stainless steel is not out of fashion because that's still 80% of sales. It goes with every cabinet, and it's been like, we've answered this question, stainless came in 1990. I've answered this question for over, how many years is that? 35 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not going away because it matches everything. It's simple. You don't have to think about it. And if it's going out of fashion, then what's coming in fashion? Certainly not black stainless steel. That's going out because it never actually wasn't a very good surface. It's more of tape over stainless steel. Whites come back, blacks come back, limited colors have come back, but nowhere with stainless steel. But if you say, I don't want stainless steel and I'm a little gun shy in colors, then absolutely, matching cabinet doors are great on refrigerators, dishwashers, wine coolers, refrigerator doors, anything but cooking. You can put a door on, and that'll make your kitchen unique and timeless.
Yeah.
But I don't see stainless going out of style.
Yeah, no, definitely not. All right, I think we have time for one more question here. So next one we have here is from David K. It says, which brands are the most reliable for refrigerators and ranges? And are induction ranges difficult to cook on? What is the most reliable steam convection? So we got a couple of questions in there. So we'll start with the first one. Which brands are the most reliable for fridges and ranges?
Well, again, we don't sell every brand, thankfully. But according to our according to our reliability service, based on numbers, not on like, anything else but service numbers, number one would be LG. And it's really interesting because I just wrote an article today saying, is their compressor defective or not? And their compressor needed to be replaced 1.2% of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now out of that 1.2%, when someone says I've got a no cold on my refrigerator, we're replacing the compressor, probably the evaporator, some of the controls just to get the refrigerator running. So it's not quite 1.2%. But how does that fare versus G? G is like 0.5%, and it's about 0.5%. Samsung's about 0.4%, and KitchenAid's 2.5%. So, and at the end of the day, which gets serviced the least? LG gets serviced about 7% of the time. Bosch gets serviced about 12% of the time, and it goes up from there. So that would be, it depends on what you're looking at there. In terms of ranges, it depends on which range you're talking about. Pro, induction, gas. I would say combination of a bunch of different brands for that. Are induction ranges difficult to cook on? No, they're not difficult at all. I mean, it's like cooking on gas with electric because it's an instant on, instant off, infinite simmer, easy to clean, less to vent. And what is the most reliable steam convection oven? Well, there aren't too many. I would say probably by default, it's what, Miele, SKF.
Miele and Wolf. Yeah, Miele, SKF, Wolf. Yeah, and the steam convection. Yeah, like a full steam oven. Yeah.
Thermador would have one as well. Really, I would say probably in terms of reliability for ovens, Miele has got to be number one. Two.
And just as far as the features as well that they offer for induction and steam too, like, is it hard to cook on? No, but they can be different than maybe what you're used to. So especially with the steam, where maybe you've never cooked with something like that. I like how Miele and now Wolf with their gourmet really give you that guided cooking on the steam ovens. So it kind of really eases that learning curve and makes it really simple to kind of select what you're cooking, really like they do in their oven. So I like those brands because they make kind of cooking with that not even newer technology, but maybe newer to you, makes it a little bit easier and kind of eases that learning curve.
I will answer one more with that, right? Victoria Fine. And happy holidays from Indianapolis. You've got an induction, you put an induction cooktop, monogram Advantium oven. Advantium is cooking by light, right? It's a 5-in-1 oven. You can do a bunch of different things, but one of the reasons I'm picking this question is you can do 5 different things, provided you want to do 5 different things, provided you learn how to do 5 different things, right? And a lot of times, people leave here. That's why we hired a chef, and they get it home and they don't use it, right? Which is probably, well, I'm not making any assumptions here, but I can talk for a lot of people that don't use their stuff. So the question is really if you're getting rid of the Advantium, and it's a good piece to learn, what are you going to buy? And the answer is, how would you cook, right? What would you use? But I can tell you, it is really hard to not cook well in a steam oven. They have the newest iterations from Miele and Wolf are so easy to cook, where you're just pressing buttons and hitting okay, and I happen to like steam because, again, you're adding moisture, and I just think it's much more flavorful in a steam oven and cooking with moisture than drying it out with regular radiant heat. And I think it's simple to use, and I would consider that, but not being able to talk to you, you may think of other things as well. So, but again, once again, the end of this is like the end of everything else. Buy what you can use, or figure out how to buy, or if you come here, we're going to show you how. And the other thing is, don't forget to ask about the other things that are equally important in sale, which is delivery, install, and service, which is the majority of the complaints in this business. And I can tell you, having owned Thermador and Wolf, I don't know which one's better. They cook pretty quick, but it's really it's really up to you to figure out who can deliver that promise better of the brand that you purchased.
Okay, I think that does it. A lot of questions.
Is that a rant, or was that?
No, listen, we love the rants. It's what makes the show.
Is it a show?
Sure.
What are we coming back in a couple of weeks?
Yep.
Okay, so We'll be back in 2 Thursdays. I think I'm going to be away. But we'll be
It might
back
be 3 Thursdays for the next one.
2 or 3 Thursdays. Just have the questions available, especially if you're in
Yeah.
the middle of a remodel. We'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.